Every mentor knows the fear. That moment when you realize the person you're protecting is in danger because of you, because of your enemies, your secrets, your legacy. Tony Stark built a hidden cave deep beneath the earth, a sanctuary where even Iron Man's greatest secrets couldn't be found, where contingency plans and dangerous tech stayed locked away from a world that wasn't ready. But someone found it. Someone dangerous. When Happy calls at midnight saying Tony's gone dark, Peter Parker knows something's wrong. When he breaks into that secret facility, he finds more than just a cave. He finds 3 of his deadliest enemies waiting. He finds his mentor trapped, and he finds out that the Vulture knows his name. Some battles aren't won with webs and repulsors. Some fights are about what you're willing to lose to protect the people you love. This is the story of the cave beneath. This is Peter Parker's choice. The cave beneath. I've crawled through worse places than this. The thought doesn't make the claustrophobia any easier to handle. My spider sense is a low hum at the base of my skull. Not screaming danger, but definitely whispering something's off. The tunnel is narrow enough that my shoulders brush both sides, and the darkness is absolute, except for the faint glow from the modified Stark Industries tech in my web shooters. Tony would kill me if he knew I'd reverse-engineered the arc reactor's luminescence for something this mundane. Tony. That's why I'm here, wedged into a maintenance shaft beneath an abandoned Stark facility in upstate New York. 3 days ago, Happy called me in a panic. Well, Happy's version of panic, which sounds like regular Happy, but with more swearing. Tony had been investigating something off the books, and then he'd gone dark. No calls, no snarky texts, no late-night lab sessions where he'd ping me at 3 a.m. to consult on repulsor efficiency. Just silence. The official story was that he was on vacation. The Avengers bought it. Pepper seemed nervous but didn't push. But Happy knows Tony better than anyone, and Happy was scared. So here I am, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, breaking into a supposedly decommissioned Stark facility because my mentor might be in trouble, and I can't just sit in Queens doing homework while that possibility exists. The maintenance tunnel opens into a larger space, and I drop down silently, my feet finding purchase on what feels like solid concrete. I tap my web shooter twice, and the glow intensifies. I'm in some kind of antechamber. The walls are industrial gray, but there's something off about them. Too smooth, too perfect. Stark-grade construction. This place was built to last and built to hide. No windows, no obvious exits except the shaft I just climbed through. But there's a door ahead, heavy and metallic, with a keypad that's still glowing a soft blue. Active power, in a facility that's supposed to be dead. My spider sense ticks up a notch. I approach the keypad carefully, my mind already running through the possibilities. Tony's security is notoriously paranoid, but he also has a weakness for patterns. His password for the lab used to be based on the periodic table until I guessed it in 40 seconds. After that, he switched to something more obscure, but I've learned how he thinks. I try a few combinations. His birthday, Pepper's birthday, the day he became Iron Man. Nothing. The keypad doesn't even beep. It just stays stubbornly dark except for that patient blue glow. Then I remember something Tony said once, drunk on champagne at a post-mission celebration. The most important day of my life was the day I realized I wasn't the smartest person in the room anymore. He'd been looking at Bruce Banner when he said it, but the date was specific. The day he met Bruce. I punch in the numbers, and the keypad chirps happily. The door hisses open. "Sorry, Mr. Stark," I mutter. "I'll change your passwords to something less sentimental later." The room beyond is massive. I step through, and my breath catches. It's a cave, a natural cave system that Tony found and repurposed. The ceiling arches up into darkness 60 feet above, stalactites dripping with moisture. But the floor is all Stark. Polished concrete, recessed lighting that activates as I move forward, banks of computers and equipment arranged in precise clusters. It's like someone took the Batcave and gave it an Iron Man makeover, and it's occupied. 3 figures turn toward me as I enter. My spider sense explodes into a full-throttle alarm, and I'm already moving, launching myself toward the ceiling as my web shooters come up. "Well, well," says a voice I recognize from way too many fights. "The Spider Child. How unexpected." Dr. Octopus stands in the center of the cave, his mechanical arms coiled around him like sleeping serpents. His glasses catch the light as he adjusts them, and there's a smile on his face that makes my skin crawl. To his left is Mysterio, Or at least someone wearing Mysterio's fishbowl helmet. The cape, the dramatic posture, the way he's already gesturing theatrically, even though no one said anything. It's him. And on the right, leaning against one of Tony's computer banks like he owns the place, is the Vulture. Adrian Toomes looks older than the last time I saw him, more tired, but his eyes are sharp, and there's an energy rifle in his hands that definitely wasn't in his arsenal before. Stark tech by the look of it, modified and dangerous. Peter Parker, Toomes says, and my stomach drops. Yeah, I figured it out. Not as dumb as you thought, huh? I'm still on the ceiling, spread eagle, every muscle coiled. Where's Tony? Stark? Doc Ock's mechanical arms unfurl, extending to their full length. They move with a fluid grace that makes them even more unsettling. Oh, he's indisposed at the moment. Brilliant mind, that one. So many wonderful secrets locked away in here. He gestures around the cave with one arm, while the others sway hypnotically. He's been most helpful in showing us where he keeps them. Helpful, I repeat, and I can hear the edge in my own voice. Tony wouldn't help you with anything. Wouldn't is such a strong word, Mysterio says, and his voice has that dreamy, theatrical quality that always made me want to punch him. Smoke begins to curl from ports in his costume. Let's just say we've been very persuasive. I don't wait for more exposition. I web-sling down, targeting Doc Ock first because he's the biggest immediate threat. My webbing catches two of his mechanical arms, and I yank hard, trying to throw him off balance while I close the distance. But I've forgotten how smart Otto Octavius is. The two arms I've webbed suddenly reverse their motion, using my own pull against me. I'm yanked forward, and the other two arms are waiting. One catches me across the chest like a battering ram. The air explodes from my lungs, and I'm flying backward, slamming into the cave wall hard enough to crack stone. My spider sense is screaming now, and I roll left just as an energy blast from Toomes scorches the wall where my head was. The smell of ozone and burned rock fills the air. I land in a crouch, already webbing toward the ceiling for higher ground. The smoke from Mysterio is spreading fast, filling the cave with green fog that makes my eyes water. Illusions. Everything Mysterio does is designed to disorient and confuse. You're outnumbered, boy, Doc Ock calls out, his voice echoing strangely in the smoke. And we have something you want. Stark's life for your cooperation. Simple math. I perch on a stalactite, trying to clear my head and think. Tony's here. Somewhere in this facility. Either a prisoner or worse. And I'm facing three of my villains in his secret base, which means they've had access to his technology, his resources, his research. This is bad. This is really bad. But I've been in bad situations before. You know what's funny? I call out, my voice steady even though my heart is hammering. Mr. Stark taught me that villains always underestimate heroes. You think you got me trapped, but really, I've got you right where I want you. I'm lying through my teeth, but they don't need to know that. Brave words, Mysterio says. And suddenly there are 6 of him, materializing from the smoke in different locations around the cave. But can you back them up? The Mysterios all gesture in unison, and the smoke coalesces into shapes. Giant tentacles, mechanical spiders, flying drones. Illusions mixed with who knows what real threats. It's his signature move. Bury the real danger in a mountain of fake ones so you never know which to dodge. An energy blast from Toomes comes from my left, and I web-sling away just in time. He's got the high ground now, perched on one of the computer banks with his wings spread. The tech in those wings glows with Stark's signature blue-white light. He didn't just steal equipment, he integrated it. You ruined my life, Parker, Toomes shouts, and there's real anger in his voice. My family's life, all because you couldn't mind your own business. You were selling weapons to criminals, I shoot back, webbing toward him. That's not exactly the moral high ground. I'm halfway there when Doc Ock's arms catch me again, this time wrapping around my torso and squeezing. The pressure is immense. I can feel my ribs creaking, and my vision goes spotty at the edges. Let him go. The voice comes from deeper in the cave, and it's distorted, mechanical, but unmistakably Tony Stark. Everyone freezes. Iron Man stumbles into view from a darkened corridor I hadn't noticed before. The armor is damaged, scorch marks, dents, one repulsor flickering weakly. But it's him. He's alive. Tony, I gasp, still caught in Doc Ock's grip. Kid, Tony says, and even through the armor's speakers, I can hear how tired he sounds. You shouldn't be here. That's what I keep telling people, I wheeze. But no one listens. Doc Ock tightens his grip, and I cry out, "Ah, Stark! So good of you to join us. I was just about to make the Spider-Boy here demonstrate the limits of his enhanced durability. Care to watch?" "Or," Tony says, and his functioning repulsor hums to life, "you could put him down, and we can talk about this like adults." Mysterio laughs, and all 6 of his illusory selves laugh with him. "Adults? You're in no position to negotiate, Stark. We have your base, we have your technology, we have your protege. What exactly do you have?" "Me," Tony says simply. And then the entire cave lights up. The lights are blinding, emergency floods that Tony must have triggered remotely, cutting through Mysterio's smoke like it's nothing. I can see clearly for the first time. The real Mysterio is behind his computer bank to my right. The other 5 are holograms. Toomes is repositioning, shielding his eyes, and Doc Ock's grip loosens just enough. I don't waste the opening. I twist hard, my enhanced strength finally finding purchase, and break free from the mechanical arms. In the same motion, I web-sling toward Tony, putting myself between him and the villains. "Your armor's trashed," I mutter. "Your observational skills remain razor-sharp," Tony replies. "Left repulsors at 30%, right's dead, flight systems are shot, arc reactors at 40% and dropping. But I can still shoot things, which is what counts." "What happened?" "Later. Right now, we need to—" Toomes opens fire, and Tony and I dive in opposite directions. The energy blast tears through the space where we were standing, melting computer equipment into slag. "My data!" Doc Ock roars, his mechanical arms lashing out toward Toomes. "You imbecile! That was priceless research!" "Your research?" Toomes snarls back. "This was supposed to be about taking Stark down, not your ego trip." I web-swing up to the ceiling, watching the villains turn on each other. It's a classic problem with team-ups. Everyone's got their own agenda, and the second things go wrong, the alliance falls apart. Tony must be thinking the same thing. His damaged armor jets him toward me, and we cluster in the shadows of the upper cave. "They've been here for 2 days, Tony says quietly, his voice grim. "Octavius found this place first. I don't know how. Probably hacked satellite data or bribed someone. He brought in Mysterio and Toomes. The plan was to use my tech to upgrade their equipment, then ransom me back to Pepper." "But you've been fighting them." "Fighting, negotiating, stalling. The cave's security systems are extensive, but I had to activate them slowly, carefully, or they'd have killed me outright. I was running out of options when you showed up." Below us, the argument has escalated into violence. Doc Ock's mechanical arms are batting away energy blasts from Toomes, while Mysterio tries to separate them with walls of smoke and illusion. "So what's the plan?" I ask. Tony's helmet turns toward me, and I can hear the smile in his voice. "The plan is, I've been uploading a virus into their equipment since the moment they plugged into my systems. Octavius thinks he's been stealing my designs. He's actually been getting malware. How long until it triggers?" "Already has. Their gear should start glitching in 3, 2, 1. Doc Ock's mechanical arms suddenly spasm, jerking in random directions. One nearly hits him in the face, and he staggers backward, cursing in what sounds like German. Toomes' wings lock up mid-flight, and he crashes to the cave floor with a satisfying crunch. Mysterio's hologram projectors strobe and fail, leaving just one very confused, very vulnerable man in a fishbowl helmet standing in the middle of the chaos. "Now," Tony says. "Hit them hard and fast before they recover. I'll handle the tech. You handle the punching. I've never been given better instructions." I drop from the ceiling like a spider on prey, webbing Mysterio first because he's the easiest target without his tricks. 2 web shots, and he's cocooned against the wall, struggling and shouting muffled threats through his helmet. Toomes is trying to reboot his wings, but I'm on him before the systems come online. A solid kick to the chest sends him sprawling, and I web his hands to the floor, then his feet for good measure. "This is for selling weapons," I say, and punch him once, hard. "And for threatening Mr. Stark, and for knowing my name, which is just creepy." Toomes glares up at me, breathing hard. "You're just delaying the inevitable, Parker. Everyone knows who you are now. Everyone." The words hit harder than I want to admit, but I don't have time to process them. Doc Ock is the last one standing, and he's fighting Tony's virus with everything he has. His mechanical arms are moving erratically, but he's smart enough to compensate, using the unpredictable movements almost like a fighting style. Tony's repulsor blasts track him across the cave, but at 30% power, they're barely doing damage. One of the mechanical arms catches Tony across the chest plate, and his arc reactor flickers. Tony! I'm already moving, web-slinging across the cave in a wide arc to come at Doc Ock from behind. But Otto Octavius didn't become one of the world's foremost experts on robotics by being stupid. He anticipates my trajectory and whips an arm backward to intercept me. I twist in mid-air, barely avoiding it, but the dodge throws off my landing. I hit the ground in a roll and come up swinging. You're persistent, Doc Ock says, breathing hard. Sweat drips down his face behind his glasses. I'll give you that, Mr. Parker. But persistence alone won't save you. Won't save Stark. Won't save this city from what's coming. What's coming? I demand, webbing toward his face. He swats the web away with an arm. Change, he says, and there's something almost sad in his voice. Evolution. The old order is dying, boy. Men like Stark, with their billions and their toys, thinking they can play God. But real power? Real power comes from science, from understanding, from control. One of his arms lashes out and catches me across the ribs. Pain explodes through my side and I'm airborne again, slamming into Tony's computer equipment. Sparks rain down around me. And what about you? Tony's voice cuts through the chaos. He's standing now, armor smoking, but both hands raised with repulsors charging. You're so different from me, Otto. You've got your tentacles, your superiority complex. I've got my suits. We're both just men playing with technology we barely understand, trying to shape the world. Doc Ock turns toward Tony, and for a moment, the mechanical arms go still. The difference, Stark, is that I admit what I am. You hide behind altruism and heroism, but we both know the truth. You built weapons, you profited from death, and now you pretend to be mankind's savior? I'm not pretending anything, Tony says quietly. I'm just trying to do better than I did yesterday. That's all any of us can do. The repulsors fire. Doc Ock's arms move to block, but Tony's been charging them longer than Otto realized. The blast is concentrated, focused, and it catches the neural interface on the back of Doc Ock's neck, the connection point between his brain and the mechanical arms. There's a flash, a smell of burning circuitry, and the arms go completely limp. Doc Ock collapses to his knees, gasping. Without the arms supporting him, he looks small, fragile, human. I'm on my feet, ribs aching, moving to secure him before he can recover. But as I web his hands together, I see his face. There's no anger there, just exhaustion, defeat. It won't matter, he says softly. What you do here today, it won't matter. Why? I ask. He looks up at me and there's something in his eyes, pity, maybe, or warning. Because they already know who you are, Peter Parker. And now that they know, everything changes. The cleanup takes hours. Tony calls in a discreet team, not the Avengers, not S.H.I.E.L.D., just people he trusts. Happy arrives first, looking simultaneously relieved and furious that Tony put himself in danger. The three villains are sedated, secured, and transported to separate maximum security facilities. The cave is swept for any stolen technology or data, and Tony and I sit on a rocky outcropping in the cave, watching it all happen. You hacked my security, Tony says. It's not a question. Your birthday password was embarrassingly easy to guess, I reply. It wasn't my birthday. I know. It was the day you met Dr. Banner, which is somehow more embarrassing. Tony laughs, a genuine tired laugh. Point taken. I'll update everything to randomized strings of nonsense that even I can't remember. Good plan. We sit in silence for a moment. Below us, Happy is yelling at someone about proper containment procedures. They know, I say finally. Toomes said everyone knows. Tony's hand lands on my shoulder, heavy through the armor. Not everyone. Just him. And maybe a few of his associates. We'll handle it, Pete. We'll contain it. But what if you can't? The question hangs in the air between us. Tony doesn't answer right away, and when he does, his voice is serious. Then we adapt. We always do. That's what makes us heroes, kid. Not the powers, not the tech. The fact that we keep going even when everything's falling apart. I want to believe him. I want to believe that my secret identity can be protected, that Aunt May will be safe, that my life can go back to normal. But I've been Spider-Man long enough to know that normal is a luxury I gave up the day I got these powers. Why did you build this place? I ask, changing the subject. A secret base that even the Avengers don't know about? Tony is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, there's something vulnerable in his voice that I rarely hear. Because I needed somewhere that was just mine. Not Tony Stark the billionaires, not Iron Man the heroes, just mine. A place where I could work on projects that scared me, ideas that might be dangerous, contingencies in case everything went wrong. Contingencies for what? Everything. Alien invasion, rogue AI, the Avengers turning on each other, me turning into the villain. He pauses. You turning into the villain. The words hit like a punch. You have plans for me? I have plans for everyone I care about, Tony says, and there's no apology in his voice. Because caring about someone means being prepared to stop them if they fall. It means having an exit strategy. It means not being naive about the fact that good people can do terrible things under the right circumstances. I should be angry. I should feel betrayed. But instead, I understand. Because I've thought about the same things. Late at night, when I can't sleep, I've wondered what would happen if I lost control. If the power corrupted me. If I became the thing I've always fought against. Did they get anything? I ask. Doc Ock and the others? Any actual data? Tony shakes his head. Nothing important. Some surface-level designs, already outdated. The virus corrupted everything before they could access the real archives. They thought they were so smart, using my own base against me. But this cave has more security layers than Fort Knox. They never had a chance. Then why did you let them stay? Why not just trigger the defenses and end it? Because I needed to know who was behind it, Tony says. Octavius didn't find this place on his own. Someone pointed him here. Someone with access to high-level satellite data and my personal files. We caught the assassins, but the person who hired them is still out there. A chill runs down my spine. So this isn't over. It's never over, kid. That's the job. We solve one problem, another appears. We stop one villain, another rises. It's an endless cycle. That's depressing. That's life. Tony stands, his armor whirring and clicking as damaged servos struggle to move. But you know what? Every time I think about giving up, about hanging up the suit and retiring to a beach somewhere, I remember that there are people who can't protect themselves. People who need someone to stand between them and the monsters. And yeah, I'm damaged goods. Yeah, I'm probably going to die in this suit someday, but until that day comes, I'm going to keep fighting. He extends a hand to me, and I take it, letting him pull me to my feet. You did good today, Pete, he says. You found me. You fought 3 villains at once. You kept your head in a crisis. That's what heroes do. I was terrified the whole time. Even better. Means you're not an idiot. Tony's helmet retracts, and he's grinning at me. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being scared out of your mind and doing the right thing anyway. Below us, Happy is gesturing frantically at the cave entrance. Time to go. We make our way down together, Tony's armor barely functioning, me limping from bruised ribs and a dozen other impacts. We look like we've been through a war. I guess we have. At the entrance, Tony pauses and looks back at the cave. I'm going to have to abandon this place, move everything to a new location. They've compromised it. Where will you go? I've got a few ideas. There's a nice spot in Montana, underground bunker in Nevada, underwater facility off the coast of Maine. He grins. Billionaire perks. I can build secret bases wherever I want. Must be nice. It has its moments. Tony's expression grows serious. Listen, Pete, about what Toomes said, about people knowing your identity. We'll handle it. I'll put my best people on it. We'll scrub databases, spread misinformation, make anyone who knows think they're crazy. You'll be safe. And if that doesn't work? Tony meets my eyes, and there's steel in his gaze. Then we do what we always do. We fight. We protect the people we love, and we don't give up, no matter what. I nod, trying to absorb the weight of what he's saying. My identity as Spider-Man has always been my biggest secret, my most carefully guarded truth. The idea that it might be compromised terrifies me more than any villain. But I'm not alone. I have Tony. I have Happy. I have people who will stand with me when everything falls apart. Thanks, Mr. Stark, I say quietly. For what? For being you. For teaching me. For having my back. Tony claps me on the shoulder, and there's genuine affection in the gesture. Kid, you're the best thing I've ever created, and I didn't even create you. I just polished the diamond that was already there. Don't ever forget that. We walk out of the cave together, leaving the darkness behind. Happy's waiting with a car, a nondescript sedan that's probably got more security features than Air Force One. The 3 captured villains are already gone, transported to facilities where they'll be contained and studied. The sun is rising as we drive away, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I watch through the window as the facility disappears behind us, and I think about everything that happened in the last 12 hours. I came here looking for Tony. I found him, but I also found confirmation of my worst fear. My secret identity is compromised. Adrian Toomes knows who I am, and if he knows, others might too. The thought should terrify me. It does terrify me, but it also clarifies something. I'm Spider-Man. That's not just a mask I put on. It's who I am, down to my core, and whether people know my name or not, I'm going to keep fighting, keep protecting, keep being the hero this city needs, because that's what Tony taught me. That's what Uncle Ben taught me. That's what I've learned through every battle, every victory, every defeat. With great power comes great responsibility. And I'm not going to run from that. Not now, not ever. The car ride is quiet. Happy keeps glancing in the rearview mirror, probably checking to make sure we're not being followed. Tony's armor has fully retracted, and he's in his undershirt, covered in sweat and grime. He looks human, vulnerable in a way the Iron Man suit usually hides. You should get that looked at, I say, pointing to a nasty bruise forming on his ribs. You should take your own advice, Tony counters, nodding at my side where my suit is torn and blood is seeping through. It's just a scratch. Said every action hero right before they collapse from internal bleeding. I laugh despite myself. I heal fast. Super healing, remember? Accelerated healing, Tony corrects. Not Wolverine-level regeneration. There's a difference. You know, for someone who just got rescued, you're being awfully pedantic. For someone who did the rescuing, you're being awfully mouthy. Happy snorts from the front seat. You two done? Because we've got about 45 minutes until we hit the city, and I'd like to enjoy some quiet before then. We fall silent, but it's a comfortable silence, the kind that comes from trust and understanding. My phone buzzes. A text from Aunt May. Where are you? You said you'd be home by 11. I wince. It's almost 6 a.m. I've been out all night and I never checked in. Trouble? Tony asks, reading my expression. Aunt May. I told her I was studying at Ned's. Classic excuse. Timeless. Tony pulls out his own phone and starts typing. I'm sending her a message from the Stark Industries intern coordinator. You were helping with an emergency project at the lab. Got so involved you lost track of time. I called her at midnight to let her know you'd be working through the night. You're backdating a fake call? I'm establishing an alibi. Completely different. Tony hits send. There. By the time you get home, she'll have gotten the message and the follow-up email with your stipend for overtime work. You're welcome. That's actually really helpful. Thank you. Also morally questionable, but we'll workshop the ethics later. Tony leans back in his seat, wincing as he moves. You know, when I was your age, I had to lie to my dad all the time. Different reasons, obviously. But the core principle was the same. I was doing things I believed in, things I knew were important, and the people who cared about me wouldn't understand. Did he ever find out? That I was sneaking into MIT labs to build experimental tech? Yeah, eventually. He was not pleased. But by then I was too far gone to stop. The work was too important. The possibilities were too exciting. Tony's expression grows distant. He died before we could really resolve it. Before I could explain that everything I was doing was because I wanted to be like him. Brilliant, visionary, important. There's a weight to his words that makes my chest tight. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's ancient history, but it's why I'm telling you. Tony turns to look at me directly. Don't wait to have the important conversations. If May matters to you, if you want her to understand this life you're living, you need to tell her. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Because secrets have a way of festering, of turning into resentment and pain. She'd try to stop me. Maybe. Or maybe she'd surprise you. People are resilient, Pete. They adapt. Look at Pepper. She knows everything about Iron Man, about the danger, about the late nights and close calls. And she's still here, still supporting me. Because I trusted her with the truth. I think about Aunt May. About how she'd react if she knew I was Spider-Man. The danger I face every day, the secrets I keep. Part of me thinks she'd lock me in my room and never let me out. But another part, the part that remembers how she stood up to bullies, how she fought for me after Uncle Ben died, how she's the strongest person I know, thinks she might understand. I'll think about it, I say. That's all I ask. We drive through the early morning streets of New York, watching the city wake up. Delivery trucks making their rounds. Early commuters heading to work. A couple of joggers braving the cold. It's peaceful, almost mundane. This is what we fight for, I realize. Not the big moments. Not the dramatic battles or the world-ending threats. We fight for this. For normal people living normal lives, unaware that there are monsters in the dark and heroes standing between them and oblivion. What happens now? I ask. With the cave, I mean. With whoever pointed Octavius there. Tony's jaw tightens. Now, we investigate. Quietly. I've got some ideas about who might have access to that kind of information. We'll narrow it down, find them, and make sure they understand that betraying my trust was a terminal mistake. Terminal as in their career is over. Their reputation is destroyed. And they spend the rest of their life looking over their shoulder, wondering when I'm going to collect on the debt. Tony's expression is cold, dangerous. I don't forget, Pete. And I don't forgive people who put my people in danger. It's a side of Tony I don't see often. The ruthless billionaire. The man who built an empire on being smarter and more dangerous than everyone else. It's a reminder that for all his jokes and his mentorship, Tony Stark is not someone you want as an enemy. What about me? I ask. What do I do about Toomes knowing? You be careful. You vary your patrol routes. You don't go home the same way twice. You watch for tails, for surveillance, for anything out of place. Tony's voice is firm, instructional. I'm going to have Jarvis monitor all electronic chatter for your name. If anyone starts digging into Peter Parker, we'll know immediately, and we'll shut it down. And if you can't shut it down, then we move to contingency plans, new identity, relocation, whatever it takes to keep you and May safe. Tony meets my eyes. I won't let anyone hurt you because of me, Pete. That's a promise. I believe him. When Tony Stark makes a promise, he keeps it. It's one of the things I admire most about him, his loyalty, his willingness to go to the wall for the people he cares about. The city skyline rises ahead of us, familiar and comforting. We're almost home. Happy drops me off 3 blocks from my apartment. Standard security protocol. Never go directly to the destination in case we're being followed. I walk the last few blocks, my spider sense on high alert, scanning for anything unusual. But the morning is quiet. Normal. Just another day in Queens. When I reach the apartment building, I pause at the entrance. My ribs are throbbing, my suit is torn, and I'm exhausted down to my bones. But I'm alive. Tony's alive. We stopped the villains and secured the facility. All in all, not a bad night's work. I climb the stairs to our floor and pause outside the door, listening. Inside, I can hear Aunt May moving around the kitchen. The smell of coffee wafts through the cracks. She's awake, which means I need to have my story straight. I open the door and step inside, making sure my torn suit is hidden under my jacket. Peter! Aunt May appears in the kitchen doorway, relief flooding her face. I got the message from Stark Industries. You were working all night? Honey, you should have called me yourself. I'm sorry, May. The project was really intense and I just lost track of time. The lie tastes bitter, but it's necessary. For now. She crosses to me and pulls me into a hug. I'm just glad you're safe. You work too hard, you know that? You're going to burn yourself out. If only she knew. I'll be more careful, I promise. And I'll text you myself next time, not rely on the lab coordinator. Good. She pulls back and studies my face. You look exhausted. Go shower and get some sleep. I'll make you breakfast when you wake up. Thanks, May. I head to my room, closing the door behind me. The suit comes off in pieces, revealing the bruises and cuts underneath. Nothing too serious. I'll heal in a couple of days. But it's a reminder of how close things came tonight. I shower, washing away the grime and blood and fear. The hot water stings my injuries but also soothes them. By the time I'm done, I'm practically asleep on my feet. I collapse into bed, not bothering with pajamas. My phone buzzes one more time, a text from Tony. Good work tonight, kid. Get some rest. We'll debrief later. I send back a simple thumbs up and let the phone fall to the bed beside me. Sleep comes fast and hard, pulling me under into dreams of caves and mechanical arms and fishbowl helmets. But running through it all is a thread of hope. Tony's voice, steady and sure, reminding me that I'm not alone in this fight. When I wake, it's afternoon. The sun is streaming through my window, and I can hear May in the living room, watching some cooking show. Everything is normal, mundane, safe. I get up, stretch carefully, and assess the damage. The bruises are already fading, the cuts healing into pink lines. By tomorrow, there'll be barely a trace of the fight. That's my gift and my curse. I heal fast enough that I can keep fighting, but I never have physical proof of what I've been through. No scars to show the battles I've won, the dangers I've faced. Maybe that's for the best. Maybe some things should stay invisible. I get dressed and head out to the living room. May looks up from her show and smiles. There's my hard-working intern. How'd you sleep? Like the dead, I say honestly. Good. You needed it. She pats the couch beside her. Come sit. Keep me company. I settle in next to her, and we watch the cooking show together. It's peaceful, normal, exactly what I need after the chaos of last night. But in the back of my mind, I'm already planning. Already thinking about patrols, about surveillance, about how to protect my identity now that it's been compromised. I'm thinking about Tony's words, about having important conversations before it's too late. Maybe I will tell May. Someday. When I'm ready. When I can find the words to explain why I do this, why I put on the suit and swing into danger night after night. Until then, I'll keep protecting her the only way I know how, by keeping her in the dark and standing between her and anything that would do her harm. It's not perfect, but it's what I've got. And like Tony said, we adapt, we survive, we keep fighting, because that's what heroes do. The cooking show host is explaining some complicated technique for making pastry when my phone buzzes. Another text from Tony. Jarvis found something. Come by the tower when you can. Not urgent, but worth discussing. I glance at May, then back at my phone. The call to action is always there, always pulling at me. But for right now, in this moment, I choose to stay. To sit with May and watch bad television and pretend that I'm just a normal kid living a normal life. The hero stuff can wait an hour. The city will be okay for a little while longer. I lean back against the couch and let myself breathe. Tomorrow, I'll be Spider-Man again. I'll swing through the city and fight the bad guys and carry the weight of great responsibility. But today I'm just Peter Parker, and that's enough.